I never expected that a quiet evening with my dog would gently stir something deep inside me. While my husband was away, off chasing the next step in his career, I stayed behind. Just me and our golden retriever, Bruno. And in the silence that settled around us, I began to uncover something I hadn't felt in a long time, the quiet pulse of life returning. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy stories that speak to the soul. And give this video a like if you believe that healing sometimes starts in the stillness. It started just a few weeks ago. Aaron, my husband, was off on yet another business trip. That had become the norm over the years. Packing, airport rides, long stretches of absence. At first, it was an adjustment. But eventually, I grew used to the silence that would settle into the walls once he left. I never held it against him. His career had provided us with comfort, a warm home, space to breathe, and a yard where Bruno could chase butterflies to his heart's content. But with each departure, the quiet inside the house seemed to stretch a little wider and deeper. Bruno had been with us for over 5 years. He came home with us as a floppy ball of sunshine. Since then, he had become so much more than a pet. He was the steady heartbeat in a home that had slowly gone quiet. That evening began like so many others. I tried to fill the space with music, TV, anything, but nothing worked. The quiet was louder than anything I could play. Bruno padded over, rested his head gently on my lap, and looked up at me with those wise, knowing eyes. I ran my hand through his soft fur, and in that small, still moment, something softened inside me. No words, no noise, just presence. And somehow, that said more than anything else could. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. The lovely house, the quiet life, and a loyal companion. But on the inside, something essential had slipped away. An intimacy, a connection I once craved, now replaced with scheduled calls and shared logistics. Bruno filled the gaps. On quiet evenings, he'd curl up beside me during dinner, tail gently, tapping the floor every time I looked his way. That little sound, that small rhythm reminded me I wasn't entirely alone. One night I whispered, "What would I even do without you?" He didn't reply, of course, but the way he looked at me made it feel like he already knew the answer. Our home, though beautiful, often felt like a gallery. Lovely, but still. Bruno made it feel real, warm, alive. He was my silent witness, present, for every unspoken ache and every quietly shed tear. That night I turned off the TV and looked at him. "You're always here," I said. His tail wagged gently in response. Each night followed a similar pattern. Distractions faded. The silence returned. My thoughts took over. Social media didn't help. Smiling faces, vibrant lives, while my own space felt still and echoing. Bruno must have sensed it. He always did. He'd rest his head on my lap as if to say, "You're not alone in this." One evening, he brought something in from the backyard. Curious, I bent down. It was an old, weathered notebook, its leather cover cracked and soft with time. "What have you found, buddy?" Inside were pages of thoughts, half-formed sketches, fragments of dreams, little heartbreaks written by someone who had once called this place home. It was as if those words had been waiting years to be found, by someone like me. Bruno sat close as I read through them. "I think you were meant to find this," I whispered to him. That old notebook did something to me. It reminded me that maybe I didn't need to wait for something to change. Maybe I needed to be the one to breathe life back into this space. Later that week, I found myself sitting in the park, under the shade of an old oak. Children played in the distance. Bruno sat beside me, his calm presence grounding me. I forgot what it feels like to really live," I said out loud. He tilted his head, ears alert, like he was asking, Then what are you waiting for? Back home, I dug out an old journal and started writing. Page after page of buried thoughts poured out, words I'd never dared speak. Bruno, as always, stayed beside me. That night, I asked him, "Do you think this is the life we were meant to live?" He nudged my hand gently until I started petting him again. And somehow that small gesture was the answer I needed. Even the simplest routines, making dinner, folding laundry, taking evening walks, felt different with Bruno around. He made the ordinary feel less empty. One morning, on our usual walk, I noticed a flyer outside the local bookstore. Creative Writing Workshop, Reconnect with Your Voice. I stopped in my tracks. Something inside me stirred. Maybe it wasn't a huge leap, but maybe it was enough. I marked the date in my calendar and promised myself I'd go. That Saturday, under a gentle drizzle, I walked to the bookstore. Inside, the smell of paper and coffee wrapped around me like a familiar blanket. The instructor smiled kindly and said, "Don't try to impress. Just write from where it hurts and where it hopes." And I did. For the first time in years, I didn't hold back. I wrote what I hadn't even told Erin. And when the session ended, she looked at me and said, "You've got something worth saying. Keep going." Her words followed me all the way home. Bruno greeted me like I'd been gone for ages. I knelt beside him, wrapped my arms around his neck, and whispered, "I think something's changing. I can feel it." That night, I wrote until the pages ran out. And Bruno? He curled up beside me, like he always had. But for the first time in a long time, I felt something new stirring, hope.